We got work to do.
Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Christine.
And this week we're discussing Season 4, Episode 16, On the Head of a Pin. And if you guys don't remember, this is the one where Castiel and Uriel asked Dean to use the torturing skills he learned in Hell to extract information from Alistair. And Dean's world is shattered when Alistair reveals shocking information. Dun, dun, dun.
Man, I didn't see any of this coming.
I forgot about all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, well, that's good.
But
right?
like
It's like
not
you're reliving it.
Yeah, no, totally. And usually it's that's like a bad thing where it's like, oh, this episode kind of was like blah, like I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But it was more like, oh, well, obviously I have not been watching as in depth as, I am now. And this is pretty fucking cool.
So much.
Yeah, I know. Because we learned so much in this one episode. And I didn't realize this, and I think I got this off the Supernatural Wiki, but the title refers to the medieval question, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin?
Oh, I've never heard that.
I've never heard that either. I don't think.
That's interesting.
I certainly don't know what it means.
Yeah, no, I need some context.
Yeah.
But that's
I didn't get any. But it sounds pretty cool. But yeah, how'd you feel about this episode?
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was just really well done. And we got so much more Cass.
Yeah.
Like, we finally had, it was almost like a Castiel episode.
It kind of was, right? Because we got some, alone time with Cass and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And, they did a good job, going back and forth between all the main characters and making it feel kind of even. It didn't just follow one person. We had some huge Dean stuff. So I guess if you had to say, whose episode it was Dean's. But there was so much Cass and so much insight into his feelings and what's going on with him and what's going on with the dude upstairs. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was just great. I really wanted that. And we got it.
Yeah. And speaking of that, me and you got a lot of Cass this past weekend.
We got a little bit of Cass too.
So as you guys know by now, we went to the convention.
Woo! In Dallas, which was actually in Plano.
Yes. And we only went for the Saturday one, and unfortunately, we didn't know this. I guess, hey, lessons learned. But Jared and Jensen only appear on the Sunday, because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? But hey, although I'm sad we got to miss them, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was great anyway. I feel like we kind of should have known, or I should have thought about it more, because it's kind of like concerts or something that last over a weekend where it's like the headliners are on Sunday. They're totally the headliners. I didn't think about that.
No.
And it didn't matter so much in the long run anyway, because we planned it so late that I don't know that we could have been able to pull off a Sunday day anyway. But
I know.
It was all good. Saturday was awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun, and we got pictures with Richard Spate, and also with Misha Collins.
Yeah, we did a Misha sandwich. Kristen told him.
I did.
We're doing a Misha sandwich.
But now, I kind of
he was like,
kept
oh
on
yeah, oh, okay,
reliving it in my mind, because I think it just came out like, we're doing a Misha sandwich,
No, I didn't get that. I heard you say it, and I thought it was kind of like, we're doing this, and you have no choice.
And
we're
it's
gonna squeeze the
funny.
shit out of you, and you have to stand there and take it.
Well, he looks a little bit scared in the picture, and I think it's because I squeezed him so hard on his left side. I really did.
He's like, oh, she's sticking into me.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. It was great.
It was pretty great. And we're going to be talking a lot more about our experience at the convention. So I think we should kind of discuss some of the spoilers that we both got. Well, what I was going to say is we should discuss it on the Patreon because
there you go.
You'll
be safe.
Yeah, you'll be safe. And our patrons can, we'll add a spoiler warning or whatever. But
perfect.
Yeah, I think we took a little bit of video and some pictures and stuff, and so we'll be doing a little chat video for you guys on the Patreon, and we'll discuss all of that, including some of those spoilers that we received.
And but we knew I was gonna get them, but now y'all know there were some for me.
I know. Oh, well. And there were some even for me because I've stopped watching.
Oh, yeah, there were some for you.
So,
damn it.
But maybe some of them we'll forget, like in 5 years. So
by the time we end up watching the episodes.
Right. And hey, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
That's absolutely right.
So, fucking, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. Had a great time. We were exhausted. I don't know about you. I spent all day Sunday like sleeping.
Well, I had to clean the house a little bit, but
I did. Then I woke up just long enough to go eat breakfast and come back home and slept.
I cleaned, I napped, and then I was eating throughout the entire day, though. Let me tell you. I was eating like every 2 hours.
And it was awesome.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Okay. But we have a lot to get through with this episode.
Yes.
It was directed by Mike Roll, who last did Bedtime Stories, and written by Ben Edlund, who last did Wishful Thinking.
He hasn't been on for a little while then.
He's done like a few episodes. I want to just off the top of my head say about 5. But he's the one that's gonna like really stick around for a very long time, and he's actually the one that came from Angel.
Oh yeah, that's right. Awesome.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, we really enjoyed this episode, and it's some serious shit. So these guys did a really good job.
The writing was really good in this one.
It really was. I think I gave it like, I give my little ratings. And yeah, I was like writing like fucking 9 out of 10. I don't know why I didn't give it a 10. Yeah. I'm just being a little stingy with my rating.
That, I guess, a little bit.
For like the big ones. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, it was excellent.
So, in the recap, we get that Lilith is trying to break the seals to let out Lucifer. I kind of needed that reminder. I don't know about you. I just, because the seals just came about like at the same or right after Lilith came about, and so I don't know. The two weren't the two were exclusive in my mind.
Yeah. And I guess for me, I needed to be reminded that the goal of that was Lucifer's release, because I feel like in the last couple of episodes, they've just talked about the apocalypse. And it's like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So then they finally said, like, Lucifer is like, oh, right. That's going to suck.
That sure is an apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also learn, of course, that Castiel is an angel. Anna is an angel. So it's like, oh shit, we're finally going to see Anna again.
Yeah.
Alistair is a total creep in that one actor's Heidendal, I think his name is.
Oh, Heyerdahl? I think it was Heyerdahl.
Heyerdahl. Thank you. Amazing performance, and amazing performance in this episode as well.
Yeah.
We get the repeat that Uriel is a specialist, quote unquote specialist, and a fucking asshole, apparently.
We knew it.
We did.
He was a
We
dick
did
from
know
the
it.
start. Ugh.
But yeah, way worse than we thought.
Yeah.
And Pamela has been totally fucked by Sam and Dean, and she is dead now, even though she warned them that, hey, I don't want to be involved with this angel demon shit.
Yeah.
And yet she was still pulled in.
God damn it.
Dean tortured souls in hell, which is going to be a really big deal, obviously, in this episode. And Sam had a problem with whatever it was that was making him more powerful, but he doesn't care anymore. He's doing it again now. Ooh, and we didn't talk about that.
No.
Thoughts?
You mean like going forward after this episode?
Yeah, like with what Sam is doing to get that power.
Oh, it was very vampire-y.
Yeah, I was, right?
Okay,
Like,
so that's what they're doing. And I guess I just sort of felt like it was like since he has demon blood in him, maybe it's kind of like charging the battery or something.
oh, I
Like
like
adding
that.
to what's in him
Yeah, I didn't think of
already.
it like that before. That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe. I don't know.
Is that, I guess, was that what you were expecting? Were you expecting something that's sinister and like vampire-y?
No, I was not expecting Sam to suck any blood. That's for sure. I thought it
Right.
was maybe something having to do. Did I mention that a while back? I don't remember if I mentioned this thought of like them like him getting something out of her when they have sex.
Yeah, you had. So like kind of more of like an incubus
Yeah, kind of thing.
kind of
So
thing.
I thought it
Yeah.
would be more along those lines, which is a little less
Interesting.
messy,
Yeah.
but
And
it
it was kind of
was.
like almost leading that way, right? Because she like jumped on top of him and
Yeah, and they like made out a little bit, and I was like, oh, but it went another direction.
yes, it certainly did. And totally understandable why he's hiding that from Dean because
Because
shit.
ew.
Shit. Dean, yeah, no. Dean's not going to be happy about that at all.
No. I wouldn't blame him.
No. Okay, so now we see that there's like a bunch of cars all over this one road. Alarms are going haywire, and then Castiel, appears. He stops them just by holding up his hand. And we see that some of these cars are like turned over. There's been some sort of accident or something has happened, something major. Castiel goes over to a body on the ground, and it's this beautiful blonde woman wearing some like billowy white dress, like basically exactly as you would picture an angel. That's how she's dressed and that's how she looks. And yet, even though she's like clearly dead, she looks so peaceful and just beautiful.
Yeah.
And he lifts up some of like the material from her dress to reveal a bloody injury in her chest area. And he says, "Goodbye, sister." So we can, guess that it's an angel. All of a sudden, cops arrive on the scene and Castiel has disappeared. So we can probably tell that this is another cosmic battle that has happened and we've lost another angel.
Mm-hmm. And did you catch the angel wings at the end?
No, I didn't.
After the
Oh,
cops showed
man.
up, they were showing they had their flashlights on her, and they like ran their flashlight over, and it like was a shot from above, and the light was on the ground, and there was a shadow of wings on either side of her spread out.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it
That's
was cool.
awesome.
It was
I'm
really
so glad
cool.
we got to, because I noticed it obviously with Uriel, it was a lot more
Yeah,
evident.
it
But
was
I
just a
love that we
hint at
got to
that.
see that again. It was so cool.
I know. I love that. They're so good at that, like just suggesting the angel wings.
Yeah.
It was sweet.
So we see that Sam is driving and he tells Dean, who seems to have just woken up, that Ruby is meeting them right outside Cheyenne, Wyoming. And he says he knows Ruby isn't at the top of Dean's Christmas list, but they need to work together to get Lilith. But it's funny because wasn't Dean just like a few episodes ago really like, oh, Ruby, my new sister-in-law, like.
Yeah, he was pretty cool with her all of a sudden.
Yeah. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden he's like really, really pissed at her.
Again.
I guess because he's jealous, right? Because Sam is keeping things, but
Yeah, maybe so.
it was like, Dean, make up your mind.
Yeah.
Like,
He wants to be pissed off.
yes, at everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Dean has a very good reason to be pissed off at this point. He's like, I'm not pissed about working with Ruby. Pamela didn't want to be dragged into this. And Sam surprisingly says, well, she knew what was at stake. Like, basically, not that it's her fault or whatever, but she understood the danger involved and she acted on it. Like, she volunteered. And I didn't feel like that, you know? She continually, like, said,
Yeah, I don't know. I did kind of struggle with it because ultimately it was her choice. She could have decided not to. And just like she could have just said, fuck both of you and left.
mm-hmm.
They did, kind of leave the door open for that, but they twisted her arm about it a lot.
Yeah, because she kept on saying, like, don't come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept on going to her, you know? And
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
No, they talked her
I'm
into
pissed
it.
about it too, Dean. Totally.
Yeah.
So Dean says that he's getting really tired, but Sam says he needs to get angry. Which is so funny because it's such a reversal of their just the way that they power through all of the hunting.
Yeah.
From
Usually
what
Dean
we've seen
gets
in like
angry.
season 1. Yeah, he's like, you know. I guess I feel like they've had that conversation in season 1 where he's like, Sam, like, why aren't you into this and this and that, you know? And now Dean is the one who's like, no, I'm fucking done with this shit.
Yeah.
So they get to the motel and Uriel and Cassia are waiting there for them. Uriel says they need Dean, but Dean starts yelling at them for one, Cass burning Pamela's eyes out. Meanwhile, Pam died to save a seal. And two, like the fact that they just came from her funeral. So that's obviously extremely upsetting.
Yeah.
And three, like, what the hell do the angels want from Dean? So, like, they've said, we pulled you from, raised you from perdition for a specific reason. You have a purpose and we need you to do something for us. And they haven't really mentioned what that purpose is. And after this,
Dean was just straight up like, yeah, what was that again? Remind me, assholes. Why the fuck do you need me?
Yeah, he's never actually gotten that answer. And I don't think even with what they have him do here, I don't think it's not obviously not that. But we do find out at the very end what that purpose was.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a purpose. It's just like, here, let me pull you out so you don't fuck up this entire world.
I mean, I guess that's a purpose if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but damn. There's a moment where Castiel says, Dean, we know this is difficult to understand, but Uriel interrupts him and says, but we don't care. And he kind of looks at Cass and Cass turns away from Dean. So it's like, whoa, like when did Uriel become the boss in this situation?
Yeah.
Apparently, there have been seven angels now that have been murdered, all of them part of their quote-unquote garrison, that's what they call them.
Whoa,
their little
7
gang.
already.
Yeah.
Well, they're vultures, right? So it's their garrison of, it's like their troop or whatever. Soldiers of God.
They're vultures.
What? Soldiers.
Oh, that's what I had heard initially. I was like, whoa, is it like crows? They're like a flock of them is called a murder, but like
which is totally cool. Side note. That's so cool.
Yeah, I know. But like vultures, it's called a garrison or something. No, yeah, I guess that makes sense. A lot of sense.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, I like how they talk about it like they're sort of like an army.
I know. I guess it's better than troop, like
mm-hmm. Yeah, or platoon or something.
Yeah, that'd been cool.
Yeah, they could have done platoon. Anyway.
Angel platoon. So they say Obviously that demons are doing it, but they don't know how. And Uriel says they can handle the demons, but they need Sam and Dean's help. They think at first it's to hunt the demon. And so they're like, seriously, you're getting a bunch of demon hunters? You're fucking angels. But it's actually that they already have Alistair, but he won't talk. And I love this line. Dean says, he's like a black belt in torture. You guys are out of his league. And Uriel says, that's why we've come to his student.
God damn it. That is not what I wanted to hear.
I know. Is that what you were expecting? I mean, like...
Right before he said it, I was like, oh, God damn it. Fuck. I see what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm. And Dean is right to be, like, really pissed about it. He says, no, they can't ask him to do this. He's almost emotional about it. Like, because obviously so much trauma is tied to that one act.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Uriel makes it clear that there's no option. And you hear the wings flutter. And then Sam is standing alone. And he just screams like, damn it.
Yeah, so they took Dean. They were like, fuck you don't have a choice. And just kidnapped him and left Sam alone.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We don't get the other side of that, but I wonder how that felt for Dean. Like, was it apparating, side apparition?
Yeah, right. Like squishes you really tight and you think that you can't breathe anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder how that felt. So in some creepy warehouse, Cass and Dean look at Alistair tied up to some metal devil's trap thing. And Cass says that there are protections in Enochian, which he can't get through. So that's the first mention of Enochian that we hear. Yep. It's basically like some ancient language that the angels still communicate through, I think, because it's like so fucking ancient.
Is it real?
Yeah. It's an occult or angelic language recorded in the private journals of John Dee and his colleague, Edward Kelly, in late 16th century England. So Kelly was a spirit medium who worked with Dee in his magical investigations. The men claimed that the language was revealed to them by the Enochian angels.
That's pretty
really interesting
badass
stuff.
Yeah.
I know. So, yeah, it's supposed to be like the language God used to create the world, and which was later used by Adam to speak with God and the angels. So I love that, like, they're pulling from like these real
Bible
references.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to be looking more into this because this is fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
And I hadn't before. And we're going to hear a lot more about Enochian, or at least it's not going to go away. You know, it's going to be a part of the supernatural universe. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Cool.
So Dean's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, even if I have to like hitch a ride back to Cheyenne. And Cass says he knows it's too much to ask, but they have to. Like, they don't have any other option themselves. They need to get this information from Alistair in order to find out how the demons are killing the angels. And I'm kind of having a thought, like, I know Cass really doesn't want to do this, and it feels like Uriel is kind of putting him up to it, but I guess, like, why would he? Or I guess the plan was to have him kill Dean, right? That's why?
Have who kill Dean?
Have Alistair kill Dean. I think he mentions later on.
Why Uriel was, like, pushing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
All right.
What a dick.
I know.
Eat a bag of dicks, Uriel.
Yeah. Dean requests to speak to Cass alone, and which I really like because we haven't seen Cass and Dean, spend some time together. Obviously, just
I was
based
looking out
on
for the Destiel signs. I don't know that I picked up on any yet. It's still pretty innocent.
No, yeah, it really is. And they barely ever talk to each other alone anymore and stuff. So, besides the Destiel stuff, like they really do bond. And so this is obviously Dean reaching out to Cass. Um, some sass between Dean and Uriel, but he
Yeah.
flutters away. And I love that like Dean jokes, if you guys don't walk, you're gonna get flabby. And there's like no response at all from Cass. And he's like, oh, even Uriel has a better sense of humor. And Cass goes, Uriel is the funniest angel in our garrison.
And
Ask
he
anyone.
says it. He says it so seriously. Just like
Yeah.
deadpan and staring at him. He's the funniest angel in our garrison. Like, oh, okay.
But it's like, okay. But what is humor to angels if like Cass is delivering that line like that?
And also, if Uriel is the funniest angel in your garrison, that's pretty fucking sad.
No,
That's not very funny.
It's not funny. It's just very mean.
Yeah.
So Dean asks what's going on with Uriel, quote unquote, putting a leash on Cass. And apparently their superiors have begun to question sympathies with Dean. So especially Cass, expressing too much emotion. He's obviously being kind of outed by the superiors for his past actions. And this part is so sad. Like Dean is kind of like begging Cass, please don't make me do this. And he says, if you ask me to open that door and walk through, you will not like what walks back out. And he turns back to Cass and he just has watery eyes.
So heartbreaking already.
I know, he really does not want to go there.
I mean,
and unfortunately,
it's reopening a wound. This is the one thing that's been plaguing him. It's why he was an alcoholic for a while. It's why he was so fucking moody. It's why, he hasn't wanted to open up to Sam and then like had that whole breakdown when he told him. It's rough. And I get it. And we just realized recently, like, he was in hell longer than he was on Earth. The dude's been through the ringer. Like,
yeah.
It's a huge trauma. And now they're asking him to go there again. Like, I don't know.
And it's going to get way worse.
Yeah.
In about a few hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just starting.
Obviously. Yeah. And he's definitely going to be a different person after this.
Mm-hmm.
So Dean enters the room that Alistair has been kept in. Besides the metal devil's trap, it was kind of hard to see outside. But there's obviously like an actual devil's trap written on the ground around him. And Alistair begins to sing like a creep. And Dean takes a blanket off of all of the torture devices. So like there's this table just filled with different devices, saws and knives and some of the stuff that we've already seen Alistair use with Ruby, right? So like knives with like inscriptions on them, and even like needles and holy water as well. So that was very interesting. Also, I mean, just this episode alone to see the different ways that a demon could be tortured.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though we've kind of already seen that with Ruby, it's like, how does this work? Like, what is actually hurting the human body versus what is hurting the demon?
Yeah, and a lot of it was just like, unfortunately, really creative combinations of things we already knew would work against them, at least, like in a vague way. Like we've got salt, holy water, blades that have, been magicked. They have spells. So like things that we've seen before. But obviously Dean's come up with some fucked up ways of using them.
Yeah. Yes. A lot more creative ways.
That was kind of made my stomach turn,
No. And it's funny that this episode we see both of them go to a very dark place, like something we haven't really, because we've heard from Dean what happened down there in hell, but we haven't seen it. So for us to see a different side of Dean, and then also see a different side of Sam, like This was a
Yeah.
pretty intense episode.
Yeah. It was like all the secrets are uncovered. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. So, Alistair laughs and he's like, "Are they serious? They sent you to torture me?" And Dean asks him to tell him a name. Alistair says, "You think I'll see your scary toys and I'll spill my guts?" And then Dean's like, "You'll spill your guts one way or another. I just wanted to keep my shoes clean." So there's a lot of like back and forth like that throughout the
Lots of
entire episode.
banter. Yeah.
Yeah.
They laid it on pretty thick.
Oh yeah, they did. And so Dean is kind of like perusing the different torture devices, what he's gonna pick up first. And Alistair says, "You must want some payback for all the things I did to you." And that's like, oh, whatever. That's not bothering him. But then he says, "No. What about for all the things I did to your daddy?" So he
Great.
knows Dean's sore spot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everybody does. Everybody knows to go after the dad.
Yeah.
With Dean.
Yeah.
We do take a break from Alistair and Dean where we see Sam meeting up with Ruby. She says that she can smell the angels on him and she's nervous about messing with them, which I thought was funny because it reminded me of like Twilight when, like in the books at least. I think a little bit in the movies, like Edward and Jacob can't stand each other's smell because
yeah,
the vampires smell like super sweet, and then the werewolves just smell like mutts, basically, like dogs.
Yeah.
And Sam wants her to find where they took Dean. So Ruby says it's all good. Dean knows how to do this, the torturing. But Sam says Dean won't be able to. He's not the same after what they did to him. And Ruby asks, "Well, is Sam the same?" And Sam says he will be.
Dun dun dun.
I know. So we go back to Alistair and Dean, and he's just telling him all of this fucked up shit. Alistair tortured John for nearly a century. So, yeah, like we haven't really thought about it that John is stuck in hell. And I don't know, I guess I just kind of thought that maybe John was like in a different part of hell or something, like there's different segments.
Yeah.
And so while Dean had been tortured for 30 years, right? John had been tortured for a century and he couldn't break him and make him torture others.
Dean was tortured for how long?
Well, he was tortured for 30 years.
Right. Yes.
But then he gave it up.
Yeah.
Before. And
yeah.
Meanwhile, John had been tortured for nearly 100 years and he couldn't break him and make him torture others. And Dean's getting all his tools ready. But then came Dean. He says, "Daddy's little girl, he broke in 30.
Ugh.
I know. And then he says, "Just not the man your dad wanted you to be, huh, Dean?" So
it's so fucked up because before this, knowing what happened to Dean, the dude was tortured for 30 years. We were like, at least I was like, that's more than you can even fathom in the first place. Like, he went through the worst that you can even imagine for a very, very long time. And how could anyone expect more? But he did expect more of himself. And now this is just like rubbing salt in the wound. Like, yes. You're still not as good as your dad, and you didn't live up to his expectations, which are also your own expectations, and you failed.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the worst thing for him is because we know that he just wanted to be accepted by his dad throughout his entire life. He just wanted to be as the best hunter he could be so that he could make his dad happy. And here, even in death, he can't live up to the same standards that his dad set before him just by being tortured, just that alone.
Yeah.
And you have to, I think he kind of thinks Alistair could be, shit, like just talking shit.
Yeah. Yeah. At first, he doesn't really believe him, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, all right, whatever. Keep
Yeah.
talking.
But it pisses him off enough where he pours some holy water in a bowl. And Alistair's like, well, you need to get more creative than that. And Dean says he dreamt in hell of this moment and he got a few ideas. And he takes a syringe and pulls some holy water in it and walks up to Alistair.
Ugh. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just throwing holy water on him, you're injecting it.
Injecting him. And we don't get to see like where exactly he injected him because we cut to outside with Cass and we just hear Alistair yelling in pain.
Oh.
So, I mean, but obviously, like, he must, now have, like, holy water coursing through him, and
Owie.
that must be very, very painful. So, we cut to black for a commercial break, and then back to Dean putting the syringe down empty, and he taunts Alistair. And I really
Alistair
love...
looks fucked up. He's already looking pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. He looks like he's about to be burned out of that body. Not doing pretty well. And we go to Sam and Ruby. Ruby has a map down and she's setting a flame on it, reciting an incantation. I love this spell that she does. The map starts to burn and she tells Sam to relax because he's like, what? The map is burning. And she says, the fire is friend. Plus, the only part of the map we need is the where's Dean part. And she says something else, like some other incantation, and then the fire goes out, and all is left is the center of the map, and that's supposed to be where Dean is. So I really like this little
that was a cool
spell
trick
that we see here. I know.
Yeah.
There's definitely a similar spell on Buffy, so I was like, oh my god,
cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So Sam tells her that, quote unquote, he needs it. And it's so funny because
I was like, what?
After this,
what is it?
Yeah, because like she gets on top of him right after this, and it's like, oh, jeez, well, he needs it. But she says that he doesn't seem too happy about it, which is also funny to think of, like they're still talking about sex. But he says it's the last thing he wants to do, but he needs it to be strong enough. So he sits on the bed. She sits on top of him. She like straddles him. She says,
side note, for him to say that's the last thing I want to do, I was like, ooh, so you don't like it? It's not good? Or
yeah. Like,
that sucks. Like, I guess you didn't ever want to have sex with her again or something. Like,
issues there. So she says, it's okay, you can have it. And then they kiss. And all of a sudden, though, she pulls out a knife, cuts herself, and he begins to suck on her blood. Yeah. And he's like, he doesn't look like it's unappetizing. He's like lapping it up. Like
into it.
He's really into it.
Yeah.
And she
like,
gives this like really menacing look. What did you think of that?
I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that. It was weird.
Yeah. It's like she's looking off in the distance and like just like evil look.
Yeah, and it made me wary of her. Like, that's the first time since this Ruby that I've been like, oh, what? I feel like you have a motive here, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. It was definitely a choice, you know?
Yeah, directing wise.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So what the fuck is that about?
Yeah. Because we don't find out in this episode, like, what that look was about. So back to Dean, who's pouring some holy water on a knife with some incantation on it. And he stabs Alistair with it. And outside, we see a light break above Cass. And Anna is standing right behind him. And he says, your human body? You know, because the last time, I hadn't really realized this, but apparently when she had regained her
grace.
Her grace, thank you.
I was like,
divine?
No.
Her divine light, yes, her grace. Her body was apparently destroyed in that.
Yeah, I didn't
So,
get that either. It makes sense, but I didn't understand that now that human body was
yeah,
done.
me neither. And she says it was destroyed, yes, but she caught in a few favors because she was sentimental. So
What
I
does
thought
that
that was,
mean?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. Because she had fallen, like she's not okay in anybody's book in heaven. So,
Right. So who are her friends? Does she have any friends? How would she get that body? Is that even like the body, or is she just kind of like able to take the shape of her? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. Yeah, is it physical or is it just like
An
a
image?
manifestation?
Right.
Right. Hmm.
I don't know, man.
I have all the questions also. So Cass says she shouldn't be there since they're still under orders to kill her, but she doesn't think he'll try. Uriel went to receive revelation, Cass says, which I was like, "Ooh, what's that? That sounds important." Revelation. Um,
Yeah. Hi. Hello.
and she asks why he's letting Dean do this. And Cass says he's doing God's work. And Anna says, torturing God's work? Stop him. And
And
she
I was
says,
like,
maybe it's
oh,
not
damn.
God's will. So where do the orders come from?
This whole conversation is just like, it just like spiraled into something where I was like, what?
No, yeah.
What are you saying?
Because like even when Cass is saying it, like he's doing God's work. Like I don't know. Like I think he already has some issues with it,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I guess he's just saying like these are orders. He's acting like a soldier, but obviously he has his doubts.
Mm-hmm.
Um and she's really the one that introduces the idea that like God isn't the one ordering this. And she tells him, maybe it's one of their superiors, but this doesn't seem like it's God. And she asks him, does he really think God would really ask him to do this? And that what he's feeling right now, that's called doubt. So, um,
Yeah,
Anna
and
says that together.
maybe he had his own like doubts about that in particular before now, but we haven't gotten that from him at all. So I wonder if she was like speaking to something that he had already been suspicious of.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know if she can sense anything in him. Um, maybe it's
Yeah,
possible
but
because just
Castiel's he doesn't seem stupid either, you know. So if he's already like doubting, I just wondered if he was like, "What's up with God?"
no, yeah. Um, just because like his superiors were able to realize that he was sent or sense some sort of thing, like he was having doubts or having emotions or something.
Mm,
So maybe
yeah,
she's sensing the same thing in him.
maybe. And she used to be like over him.
Yeah. Um, and she does say that together they can do something about it all, but he gets upset and says he's nothing like her. She fell. And he tells her to go. And then we see some, or like we hear some wings flutter and she's gone. So Dean is now throwing holy water on Alistair, totally burning him, although Alistair just looks emotionless. And then he next pours some salt into Alistair's mouth and he starts like throwing up blood, which is really
Oh,
gross. But I do love this line because Alistair says, something caught in my throat. I think it's my throat.
yeah. Fuck.
Gross.
Yeah, he's so ridiculous. Like making light
I
and making
know.
fun of like dying.
He's making it fun for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Oh, it was so gross
So
though. Like I couldn't really watch it because he threw up like it was like bloody salt.
yeah, it
Ugh.
was gross. So gross. Um and we get a quick shot of Sam driving with like super intense. So he's all pumped from that demon blood,
Yeah, he's feeling it.
apparently. Yeah. So Alistair says it was supposed to be your father. He was supposed to bring it on, but it was you. And Dean's like, oh yeah, bring what on? And Alistair's like, the first time you picked up my razor knife and sliced into that weeping bitch, that was the first seal. And Dean's like, you're lying, man.
Oh, man. And when he said that, I was like, oh, fuck.
And this is the part where, like, obviously my 2 rewatches or watches past, my past rewatches, my past watches, god damn it. I was not paying any attention because this was a revelation for me, like,
yeah,
what the hell?
that's cool.
This is big news. Yeah.
But it's so quick too. Like, I could see how if you were maybe just kind of like half watching it, you wouldn't catch it because he just said it really quick. And it was kind of like in some downtime, it felt like in the episode too. I mean, it's not downtime, but it was just like serious conversation time.
I know. I must have just been like eating like really loud hot Cheetos during that moment or something.
Yeah. Or taking something out of the oven or, just whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you blink and you miss it, I feel like.
Yeah. So if you guys listening blinked and missed it, the first time that Dean tortured someone was the first seal being broken. What the fuck?
Yeah. God damn it. Something's not. This didn't go to plan.
No. And Alistair recites, and it is the written. Is that right? I might have copied that down wrong. And it is written.
And it is written. Sure.
That the first seal shall be broken when a righteous man sheds blood in hell. As he breaks, so shall it break. Literally
happened.
Yeah. So
it's so literal.
My question is, well, I have so many questions. So one is like, I'm kind of surprised and shocked that there were no other righteous men in hell. But I guess that makes sense, right? Because righteous men go to heaven, quote unquote. I don't know. Like,
yeah. It's probably hard to get them down there in the first place. Right?
And yeah. And like these guys just went to hell because like John and Dean because of these deals they made or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just kind of an accident that they were in there.
And my other thought is, isn't that interesting? Because that makes me feel like the whole special children thing, there are still more dots that need to be connected. But the yellow-eyed demon getting John into hell was a very deliberate plan, I feel like. Mm-hmm. That was something that was set up so that he could clearly like open that first seal and start the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out that way. And
yeah, and I wonder too, like, the other thing about having a righteous man in hell is that he's righteous, right? So, like, even if you have one and you're working on him, he's probably really hard to break, like we found with John. Ooh, also, I wonder how educated John. I'm just now having a thought. I wonder if John knew that he would be a first seal.
Oh.
So he held out for over 100 years.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't
why?
know. Like,
why was he able to do that for so
this?
long? Is it really just because he was so good? I don't know. Or, yeah, would he have known that and just been like, I can't. This is what's at stake. But he doesn't have a way to tell anybody else about it. I don't know.
It's a good question.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of questions I have. I mean, I do believe Dean is a righteous man, but it's very interesting then that he was able to break.
Mm-hmm.
And Alistair says that first seal had to break before all of the others. So we owe it all to you when we bring on the apocalypse. So while Dean's looking away, Alistair is looking around and he sees water dripping from above. And he goes on. Or rather, Dean replies and says, I don't think you're lying. Even if the demons do win, you won't be there to see it. And then he turns around, but Alistair is standing like right behind him. So,
yeah,
that water dripping, broke the
Could
devil's trap.
see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I maybe want to get off into some thoughts here. So,
Please do.
while we were talking about um, the righteous man and that like kind of prophecy or whatever about the seal,
Mm-hmm.
um, I googled it, and it's in chapter 6 of Revelation that it says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, 'Come and see.'" And there was a page I found with like a bunch of different translations, but it's all basically that. Um, so it says
Huh.
that the Lamb opened one of the seals. I know that, sometimes obviously it's hard to tell exactly how the writers of Supernatural intend for some of these biblical things to be taken, because some of it they're taking straight from it seems like, and other stuff they're playing kind of like fast and loose with it, like it's just like, oh yeah, this is mentioned in the Bible and now we're bringing it in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
But if the Lamb opened one of the seals, maybe we could say that Dean is the Lamb.
Yeah. And I always saw the lamb as like Jesus Christ, right? Like, isn't
Yeah,
that the
and I think I
interpretation?
actually like mentioned that when we were talking about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So the Lamb is Jesus. So does that
Yeah.
mean that like Dean is like
Dean is Jesus?
he's like the new Jesus?
Ooh. The new Jesus. Oh my God. I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway,
totally.
just
I'm trying to, yeah.
I just love all of that. It's so interesting. And seeing how it relates to, what we're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I I think we should keep an eye on that because we haven't really like we haven't okay, like this is the purpose of like Dean, but like I don't know, we haven't really heard any more beyond that, like why Dean? You know, why the Winchesters? I think that there is some more interesting stuff to delve into with
Yeah,
that.
they've got to be special somehow.
I mean, we've got a special child already in the family, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another one.
And all this shit with Dean with the angels and stuff now too. I mean, I guess it makes sense now since we know that like they're focusing in on him because he was the righteous man, right? Like the
Yeah.
reason this happened, but I don't know. There's just got to be something.
But I don't know. But also, like, why didn't they go after John? Why didn't they try to save him? You know?
The angels? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Were they just like, well, I mean,
Because he's not the
he's too
lamb.
good?
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. Or, yeah. Exactly. Okay.
Mm.
Very interesting.
Cool, thanks. Had to go off on that thought for a second.
No, thank you. So Dean starts getting his ass kicked, and then Cass comes for him. He sticks Alistair with a demon knife, but Alistair is totally fine. Of course. I mean, we already knew that he would be fine. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's the actual demon knife. I think it's like a knife, that knife with like the inscription on it. But
Mm.
basically, that's what the demon knife is, right?
I don't
Like,
know. I don't know if the demon blade is like different from a blade that's been like that has like a spell on it.
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. So because in that case, they would be able to create that fucking demon blade, like recreate it,
True.
mass produce it, really.
Yeah. True. So I guess maybe not.
So Cass starts turning it with his powers like inside of Alistair. So it's like really digging into him and hurting him. But Alistair pulls it out like nothing. He's totally fine.
I have a
And he
dumb
starts
question.
attacking. No, yeah.
Where is the demon blade? Is it the demon blade?
The demon blade, that's not a dumb question.
Is
Um
it the
I
demon? Is it just the one? I don't remember what happened to that.
I think it was the one, and I think what happened was okay. First, Alistair had stolen it because the dumbasses Sam and Dean dropped it in the church.
Right.
But then I think they got it back after Anna had regained her grace.
Okay.
So I think they do have it. Um, I don't know where it's at, though.
I just wondered if that was it. Maybe Dean had it.
Yeah. I guess that would be weird, though, right? If, like, Sam and Dean were like, oh, hey, by the way, like, you can use this.
I mean, unless
Because
they
they
just
haven't
took
really talked
it.
to them. It's totally possible that they did.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
That's not a dumb question. It's hard to keep track of this shit. Where's the Colt? What
yeah,
happened to that?
exactly. I was like, I don't remember where the knife ended up.
Right.
Sorry.
And I feel like we just got that answer about the Colt or the bullets of the Colt, and I've already forgotten everything. I'm so sorry. We'll have to go back to that mini-sode. I think it was on a mini-sode.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So he starts attacking Cass. They begin fighting, but more like humans, right? So they're not like doing the whole angel thing or anything special with their powers. They're just like punching each other.
It's kind of like slow-mo punching and kind of whooshy and
yeah. So Alistair gets Cass impaled on something small in the wall, and he's kind of trapped there. And all he can do, he says, is send him back to heaven. And Alistair starts speaking some Latin to exorcise him so like he can come out of his body and go back to heaven. And Cass's eyes and mouth start to shine with light. But then Alistair is pushed up against a wall all of a sudden, and Sam comes there and he starts doing something to him. He's like with his hand. He just has his hand out. He's gotten much better at that too. Mm-hmm. And he asks Alistair who is murdering the angels. And how. And Alistair says he doesn't know. It's not them. It's not the demons. They're not doing this.
Man, he actually gives it up and says that.
He does. And I wonder if it was something like Sam was doing, if he like had some control now, like a lie detector test or like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think he just actually scared the shit out of Alistair. And like, this is how you will die, and this is torture. And it was just enough for him to actually tell the truth. That was what I got from it, because it was like, this is not salt down your throat. It's kind of, it's worse.
Mm-hmm. And Alistair says, interestingly, Lilith is not behind this. But also not just that it's not that she can't. That she wouldn't kill 7 angels. She'd kill 100, 1,000. So I don't know if he was just like, you know, like fucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying
she's
shit.
So awesome.
Right.
And just fucking with him.
Or if this is true and it's like, well, why isn't Lilith, you know, going after angels?
Yeah. I thought it was kind of weird. Like maybe he was just kind of like, I don't know, screwing him around because it just seemed like kind of a funny statement to me because like, okay, well, it's only 7. Like maybe she just started, you know, like does it have to happen all at once? Like it just means that angels are dying right now.
Right.
I don't know. So she would kill 100. It's like, okay, well, how? Like,
yeah. No, he doesn't stop at 100. He's like 1,000, you know,
all of them.
So Alistair says, send me back if you can. And then we get like this close up on Sam's face as he says, I'm stronger than that now. Now I can kill. And then he like holds up his hand and then like, you know, does this thing with his hand like to show that he's like fucking killing Alistair. And yeah, and then Alistair's like body just falls to the floor. And like we see this effect that like shows that's way different than like the demon
like
ghost
where it's like
thing.
Exorcised out of them.
Yeah, like going into the ground. It's like
it was kind of like the glowy thing from the demon blade, but like inside his body. It was kind of like he glowed inside for a second, and then it was like it like imploded.
Yeah,
it's fucking weird.
So fucking crazy. Like Sam now has this power.
Yeah, shit, bro.
What the hell?
For Alistair, like not just you didn't just kill a demon.
No,
he killed
like a Lilith level demon.
Yeah,
which is big news because Sam has been like wanting to kill Lilith for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see from Sam's point of view that he's probably not feeling at all guilty about drinking demon blood. I mean, he's probably just like, oh, well, look what I can do, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this is good stuff.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what his deal is right now. I don't know. He acted
Yeah.
like he wasn't into it, like he didn't want to do that. It was the last thing he wanted to do. But clearly he doesn't mind the powers it gives him.
No way. So we cut to Dean in the hospital. He's unconscious, and Sam is sitting with him. Cass checks on him momentarily, but as soon as he sees Sam's there, he leaves. And Sam runs after him and says that he needs to go in there and heal Dean, do a little miracle. And he yells at him for not being able to keep a simple devil's trap together. And Cass is really
He's like
apologetic about it.
scolding him.
Yeah. And he should. I mean, it's a fucking devil's trap. Like, he put Alistair in danger. Oh, of course, like, we know there was more to it than that.
Yeah.
And Cass is really sad about it. Like, he obviously feels terrible. Sam says the whole thing was for nothing. The demons aren't the ones doing this. And Cass says maybe Alistair was lying. And Sam says, no, he wasn't. And that's why I thought, okay, like, Sam, because he's like exorcising these demons, he's killing them. He has some sort of control over like their demonness.
Mm-hmm. So
that's why I was kind of thinking, oh, like he's getting this truth from some sort of like connection to his power. Because he's so like confident that he wasn't lying, you know?
Yeah.
Unless it was just like, no, this fucking guy wasn't lying. Like,
yeah,
I could tell.
I don't know. He was really confident.
Yeah. And Cass looks like really worried because like, what the fuck does this mean that the demons aren't doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just kind of freaked out this whole scene because not only is Sam using these powers that the angels have warned him by or risk death, you know, they've warned him that that's the consequence of like using these powers and that they're so terrible. And Sam not only uses it, but he does it in front of Castiel. He's watching the whole fucking thing. He's 5 feet away.
Yeah.
Watching him do this. And then he scolded him. And I was like, Sam's got some balls right now. Like,
no, he really does.
Did he forget that Castiel is an angel? Like, he's just doing all of this in front of him. He doesn't give a fuck anymore. And he is, I don't know, like getting sassy.
And it's funny because like Cass, he's clearly not in the mindset to scold Sam back. Like, he's not saying anything
he was
back
like
to
apologetic and like, no, you're right, basically. And like,
right. Which is really, I mean, you know, we're seeing that struggle, but obviously Sam hasn't. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And we cut to a park or something like that, and Uriel seems to be praying on a bench. Cass appears and he tells him that he received revelation from their superiors and that they want them to stop hunting the demon that's responsible.
So real quick, like
mm-hmm.
he had said earlier, whenever Uriel left, he was like, I'm going to go seek revelation. And I guess that's like, I mean, as someone who self-proclaimed did not read the Bible, I don't, like, I know what revelation means, but I guess we're sort of supposed to assume that means he like went to go talk to somebody who's higher up than him to like get their orders or something, you know, to like seek instructions.
Yeah, like I didn't look more into that just because I kind of, I don't know, I just assumed that they had created that lingo. Of course I've like heard of revelations, but like not seeking revelation or like obtaining revelation like as sort of an action verb, you know? But yeah, I kind of assumed the same thing. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go talk to my boss about this and gain some wisdom from it, hopefully.
I just thought that was interesting because they hadn't talked about that before, and he was like, I didn't know exactly what he meant when he said it the first time and then left. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think.
But then he came back and then he was like, I found this out. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's right. It just seemed like a fancy schmancy way of saying like, I'm going to go have a meeting or like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go see what they want us to do.
Right. Um, so they're kind of having this conversation. They both state that they're concerned about what's going on in heaven, that something is wrong up there. And they don't quite know what it could be. At least Cass is kind of like saying, like, I don't know what this is. Um, and Cass says, maybe it's the will of heaven. We are losing the war. Perhaps the garrison is being punished. Perhaps our father is not giving the orders anymore. Maybe there is something wrong. And Uriel says he won't wait to be gutted, and he takes off.
Ugh,
So Uriel isn't yet like letting up on
no.
what exactly is happening.
No,
Um,
it actually seemed like totally normal. It's like, yeah, okay. You go do your
and it
thing, do
actually
what you
seemed
need
like,
to
oh shit, he's actually concerned.
do. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised.
And like taking action.
Yeah. Um, so we see Cass, it's nighttime now. He seems to be like in front of some like beautiful, gorgeous house, um, random house, and he's looking for Anna. And little lights start flickering and she appears. He says he's considering disobedience, which is like so specific, such a
Yeah.
specific way of saying that.
Yeah. It's kind of
And he
like
says,
the
for
have y'all seen those comics by Nathan Pyle that are the little aliens who like act out like normal human interactions, but they speak extremely literally and it's hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Well,
am
have you
considering
seen
disobedience.
uh Third Rock from the Sun?
Yeah, but not in a long time, but it's totally like that.
It's totally like that. I
Yeah.
think that's, I'm just saying, I think that is the greatest comedy show of all time.
Wow.
I'm putting it out there.
Bold.
It's pretty great. It's pretty genius.
It was
Um,
pretty funny.
yeah. So, um, he says, for the first time, I feel. And she says, choosing your own course of action is confusing. It's terrifying. And Cass asks her to tell him what to do. And she says, like the old days? No, I'm sorry. It's time for you to start thinking for yourself.
I was a little conflicted about this scene because she came to him first.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when he asked for her help, she was like, nah. You know,
Yeah, I kind of,
I expected her to be like, awesome, let's do this. And really
that's true.
like, I don't know, realize that she had him on her side. Like, I don't know. It's just an interesting reaction from her. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, because before she was like, together we can
Mm-hmm.
figure this out.
Yeah.
They can do something about it. But I don't know. Yeah, it seemed to be just kind of a way to test him. Is he really actually feeling this? And is he going to act on it?
Yeah, it could be.
Because and thankfully he does figure it out, you know? And so maybe that's what she needed. Because he goes back to the warehouse and into that room where Alistair was, and he looks at um that like pipe that was dripping. And he got the idea actually from a water fountain in front of that house, like for because he saw it and he just thought, oh, water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he notices how that devil's trap was opened in that warehouse, and he tightens it. And it must be like 5 minutes later or a little, he's like standing in the main room now. And Uriel appears and he asks why Cass called him. And Cass says, it's pretty strange how a leaky pipe can undo the work of angels when we ourselves are supposed to be the agents of fate. And Uriel says, well, Alistair was really powerful. I mean, what can I tell you? And Cass says, no, nobody could undo that devil's trap. And he tells Uriel that they've been friends for a really long time and they've served together for what seems like forever. So tell me the truth. And Uriel says, the truth is the only thing that can kill an angel is another angel. and a shiny sword appears from his sleeve. Yay! So we're officially introduced, although we don't get a name for it, but I hope I don't fuck this up. I'm pretty sure it's just called the Angel Blade.
Well, then I have to tell you that I maybe saw a spoiler earlier by accident because Supernatural Wiki
Ew.
puts whatever they want on their transcripts or the summaries, and I think it was called Lucifer's Sword. Was it Lucifer's Sword?
That might be something different.
Because I couldn't understand what else it would have been in the episode.
Now, this is an angel blade, but there are archangel blades. And we know that Lucifer was an archangel, so it could, what you might have read could have pointed to
it being his old angel blade.
Yeah, or like
Okay.
Lucifer's specific blade or something.
Okay.
That's interesting that was on this episode.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what Supernatural Wiki said.
Wow.
Or maybe it was... No, yeah, it was.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool.
No, yeah.
That's awesome. Also, I'm sorry, were you going to talk about the blade somewhere?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, just checking before I switch gears a little bit. I was going to talk about how interesting it was that Castiel said that angels are agents of fate.
Yeah. Angels are agents of fate. Yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? I mean,
does it? You know, we've struggled with this idea of fate the whole way through so far. Like Dean has talked about it in the early seasons and how he doesn't believe in it. And like, I don't know if it's supposed to exist in this universe or not. But for angels to think that they are agents of fate is interesting.
Well, it kind of like goes back to the idea of I don't know if I think you can kind of see this. Well, okay, I'm having thoughts. So I think you can kind of see this within like the Bible as we know it. But like the idea of like predestination, like everything is already written as it will be.
There being a fate.
Right. And so the angels are just is that their job maybe? Like to ensure that everything goes according to plan? I mean, that's kind of like what Cass and Uriel's jobs have been, right? As we've seen it.
I suppose
in
so.
A sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, but then also like, are the orders that they're getting supposed to be fate and that's what they have to act upon? Or because it just gets into this whole weird, messy thing. Like, are the angels not also bound by fate? You know, like, do they have to follow orders in order to be an agent of fate and to carry that out? Yeah. Or are they also just fated to do those things because they're part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it maybe is the latter only because it is their job to follow orders, right? And but we can see that whoever doesn't follow orders is no longer allowed to be.
So then do we assume that that's their fate? You know what I mean? Like, are angels themselves subject to fate?
I don't know.
It gets into it opens up a lot of questions for me.
No, yeah. And I guess I think like yes, but not in like real fates. Like in whoever, like me by saying, oh, I'm going to pick up that water bottle is like that's me saying that's my fate or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just orders. It's not like true fate. So what is fate? Does that even exist?
Right.
Anything?
Right. So is fate just what God passes down through his peeps to like give angels the order to like carry out other people's fate. All the other creatures' fate. I don't know.
Yeah. And I definitely think that fate will be we'll learn more about that idea pretty soon.
Cool.
Oh, one note is that I did look up on the Supernatural Wiki what you were talking about, and it says this specifically. The blade with which Uriel kills the angels is referred to as the Sword of Lucifer in the official episode summary released by the CW, although it is never referred to as this in canon.
Weird.
Yeah. And and it goes on to say that we see more of these types of blades later on in the series. But I wonder if like they were thinking, oh, we're just gonna have this one blade
Maybe.
and it's gonna be the Sword of Lucifer. And then they're like, oh, scrap that. We're actually gonna do this.
Yeah, maybe. And it was like after they'd already sent the the description to CW or whatever for release.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
We fucked up.
Interesting.
Okay. So Uriel says he did it. He killed those angels and undid the devil's trap. And he says that Alistair I know, what an asshole. And it's like, why? Okay, what the fuck? Why did this guy do this? He says Alistair should have never been taken alive. He should have killed Dean and escaped. And he says they're not murderers. His work is conversion, which was an interesting word to use.
Yeah,
because
it's so like religiously charged.
Yeah. And he doesn't believe it's God's world anymore. Humans are running amok and they're gross. He obviously hates them. He's always hated them, right?
Yeah, mud monkeys was what he called them at first.
That's the term he used.
Yeah, and as soon as he started talking about that, I was like, yeah, okay. Now it makes sense because we knew you were like that.
Right, your prejudices are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And he says together they can raise their brother Lucifer. He didn't bow down to humanity and he was punished for defending us. And Cass says Lucifer is not God. And Uriel says God is not God anymore, which is really interesting. Yeah, like
what
does
do you
that
know,
mean?
Uriel?
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really answer that, unfortunately. He just goes on to say that Cass asks him if he was going to kill the whole garrison, and Uriel says only the ones that said no. And Uriel tells him to help him bring on the apocalypse. All you have to do is be unafraid. And Cass says, for the first time in a long time, I am. And he hits Uriel, knocking him into and through a brick wall. And then they start to fight. So we get two fight scenes. Yeah. Crazy. So many fights in this one episode. Yeah. Uriel has Cass on his knees because, he overpowers him. And we think that Uriel is about to kill him, but then Anna stabs Uriel in the neck with that angel sword, which kills him. Light shines through his eyes and mouth. He screams and then the light blows up. And we get that awesome ceiling shot of the burned wings in the floor. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was really cool. And it seemed like before in the first scene, it was like a shadow that was thrown onto the ground by the police officer's flashlight. And then this time it seemed like it was kind of burned into the ground around him or something.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So Cass is at the hospital. Dean is awake now. He teases him that he needs to manage a better devil's trap. And Cass says that Uriel is dead, that he was working against them. Dean asks Cass, hey, is it true that he broke the first seal? And Cass says, yes, we laid siege to hell and we fought our way to get to you before, but we were too late.
Terrible.
I know. But hey, maybe there is more of a purpose to Dean because he says, because Dean asks, why didn't they just leave him there, to rot because he deserves it? And Cass says, the righteous man who begins it is the only man who can finish it.
which is like so upsetting.
Yeah, this is basically Dumbledore at the end of book 5 telling Harry, like,
Neither can live while the other survives.
correctamundo.
Yeah, fuck. I hadn't thought about that, and you're so right. It's really, really upsetting. Poor Dean has been through so much already, and this just means that, I don't know, talk about having a weight on your shoulders. He already did. And now it's literally the weight of the world.
Yeah, no, it is. And the only thing I can think of is like, at least it'll give some sense of, well, not just purpose to his life, but also a way for him to rectify things, you know, because he does feel so guilty.
True. Yeah.
Um,
It could be
but
his, like, the answer to his redemption.
yeah. And Dean asks, Lucifer, the apocalypse, what does that mean? And Cass turns away, and Dean says, don't you go disappearing on me now. And then we get a son of a bitch.
Hey, don't you go disappearing on me, you son of a bitch. What does that mean? I don't know.
And he's like, what does that mean? And Cass says, I don't know. And Dean's like, bullshit. Like, you don't know. And Cass is like, I don't, Dean. They don't tell me much. I know our fate, again, fate, rests with you. And Dean says, well, then you guys are screwed. I can't do it. It's too big. Alistair was right. I'm not all here. I'm not strong enough. Well, I guess I'm not the man either of our dads wanted me to be. Find someone else. It's not me. And then he begins to cry. Oh my God, it's so sad.
Yeah, he totally cries. Poor baby. It's
know.
just, I mean, he shouldn't have to deal with this. Shouldn't have to, but he does.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Ah, what a great episode. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We do get 2 Dean tears. Well, one watery, one tear. In this episode, and one son of a bitch. And I mean, for me, the episode is pretty up there. I mean, it's a really great episode. We learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The writing is great. It
was pretty solid
before, because there was so much happening. There was so many things happening, but we got so many answers to different things, and also just like it furthered the plot even more.
And the pacing was good.
Yeah.
It just was pieced together really well, all the different parts.
And there was a lot of emotional development on both sides, you know, like we mentioned, like
on all sides, the Sam, Dean, Castiel sides.
Yes.
For sure.
I hadn't thought of Castiel before you had mentioned him, but yes, totally. So yeah, how were you feeling about the ranking?
I mean, I feel like it's pretty up there too. I don't think it's not in my top 5. But I think it's in my top 10.
Okay, I was the same.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of had it as the new number 7.
Crossroad Blues. Oh, and Fresh Blood was really good. All of these are so good. Hunted, Bloodlust.
They're so good.
Yeah, I think I could see it there.
Just because, I mean, Crossroad Blues is amazing, an amazing episode, but we don't get like much depth from that episode, even emotional depth. I mean, it was just a great, a well developed, produced episode.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, this was much more like revealing of where the boys are at right now and what's happening in the world of heaven and hell, and the main fight that's kind of unfolding. Yeah, it was big. There was a lot of depth. I think I would be comfortable with that. I could do that.
Cool. That means that On the Head of a Pin is going in as a new number 7, and this one's going in the trunk. Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy shit.
It's really heavy. I was so sad at the end of this episode. Like, it ended with Dean battered and broken and getting this news from Castiel and just breaking down and saying, I can't do it. When does he ever say that? He's never said that.
No. He's always like, well, fucking throw me in and let me die, saving.
Yeah, and sometimes he's like, haha, I don't really know about this. But he's never like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just so hard for, it's got to be so hard to admit and hard to feel. Because he's always, tried to be like the capable guy who can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sad.
It is very sad. Well, thankfully, the next episode is more lighthearted, so we'll take a break from the sadness.
Good.
But yeah, and that's it's a terrible life.
It doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't, right?
It sounds terrible.
But I promise you, it's a little bit better than what we've been.
All right, yeah.
Crying over. All right. Well, I think that's everything though. Of course, you can find us on Highway to Hell podcast.com. You can find the ranking, the prophecies that Christina's been making throughout, our discussion of this as a newbie, and also like the Sam and Dean crying and son of a bitch tracker. Please also thank you so much for sending us your emails. We had a great time going through those for the last mailbag minisode. Please continue to send it. I know it's always so much fun, and you can send those to highwaytohellpodcast@gmail.com. We're officially, right? Or I can't count, like officially midway through season 4.
How many
No,
episodes
just
are in this
kidding.
season?
There's 22. We're like way past it. We're like close to done, right?
Well,
Yeah.
half would have been 11, which was 5 episodes ago.
Well, hey, we're like a 3/4 of the way through.
What up?
So, man, shit is getting real. I'm so excited. I think I've already mentioned this season finale like has one of my favorite moments. Cool. So yeah, this train is moving along. And what am I forgetting, Christine? Rate and review. Find us on Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon.
At patreon.com/Highway to Hell podcast. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of content. You'll get to hear all about our experience of at the convention on there. So I think that's going to be going out for our $1 and up patrons in July. So, check it out. I think that's all.
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, we'll see you on the Highway to Hell. Bye. Bye.